So today in the shop, we've got a 2008 GMC Yukon Denali, and the customer concern is they're having intermittent trouble with the driver's side door lock. So we verified that we've got consistent power and ground there. Comes to it, it's got a faulty actuator. Well, in this particular application, we buy the lock actuator and we get a free door lock with it, or vice versa. And so it's a one-piece unit here. You can see I've already gone ahead and removed the door panel here. It's a couple different bolts. We pop the switch out. There's a couple more bolts to access. We lift it off the tabs and remove it out of the way. Now I've gone back and plugged in the window switch, and I've raised this driver's side window all the way up. Now, while I'd love to show you the intricacies of what it takes to do every little bit of this job, because so much of it's inside here, it's very difficult to see. So I'm just sharing a couple tips with you here. As we can see, we've got the unit here, and it's held on by 3 bolts. But before we do that, I'm going to actually go ahead, and I've got the rear window track here, part of the regulator. So I'm going to loosen it off the glass in here. I'm going to loosen the 2 bolts here, and I'm going to slide this part of the regulator bar out of the way. It's going to give me a lot more access to get my hand back in here. So I've got a rod right here for the interior door lock, and that's going to be connected in here. And you'll see a couple of clips inside. And as you look at your original unit, you can kind of tell where those clips go. And so we're going to pop that out of there. Over on the back side here, we've got the place where the exterior handle connects to it. So one of my favorite tools to use on many of these is going to be the 90-degree pick. That's going to allow me to kind of get around there and pop this thing open. And it's going to allow me to slide that rod out of there, or the rod's on the front here as well. One thing I am going to actually leave in place on this particular one is the interior cable. Now there's a cable that goes to the interior door, and this customer made the comment that it seems like they have to pull that cable a little bit, or the interior handle a little bit harder than they used to. So because we're already in here and we're replacing all this stuff, we went ahead and ordered a new cable. And so we're going to leave the old cable on the old one. We're going to discard all that. I'm going to be able to simply insert my new cable in on this one, and we'll clip it in place, and we're going to replace the cable at the same time, saving the customer a little bit of labor and certainly future problems with it. So once I get all of my pieces disconnected inside of there, now I'm going to take my ratchet and a T30 Torx bit. I've got these 3 bolts here, and I'm simply going to loosen each of them. It's going to allow me to take it off. I'll take my new unit. I'm going to bolt it into place. In many cases with it mounted here, it's just easier to access. I'm going to make all my connections again, and we'll pick up at that point. Well, I've got the unit out here for the most part, and a couple little notes. Here's the rod for the key to go on the outside. And if you look at it, it's going to be actually kind of an S-shaped piece, so you can't remove that while it's in the vehicle. So I had to disconnect this from up top. I was able to come in from the side here with a long screwdriver and kind of knock it out of the clip that was holding it in place. So this came out with the unit. Then also the interior one, same thing. It's kind of an S-shaped hook down here, and so I'd take it out with it, and now that allows me to kind of maneuver it here and get it out of the way. So I'm going to transfer these parts before I install the new one. And then there's also the electrical connector on the top here. It's got a little bit of a locking tab in place. So again, I'm going to simply take my pick, or take a screwdriver. You'll notice as that goes up, it works it off of here. So now with the new one, we're going to put it back in place. All right, we've got everything installed here. A couple tricks, you know, is a little bit to shove the rod up through here and guide the other ones in place, and then clip everything in place on the backside, including getting that exterior door handle adjusted properly. You slide the rod in place and then lock it in there. Next big tip though is make sure that everything's working properly before you do final assembly and actually close the door. There's nothing more defeating or heartbreaking than getting this all together, closing the door, and then finding out that the latch doesn't work. Now it's very tricky to try and peel that door panel off while the door is closed up against the seat and to try and get the thing open. So I'm always gonna do a couple tests with like a pick and a screwdriver, on my handles, make sure that that striker actually pops open, actuate the locks and unlocks a few times, make sure those are functioning the way they're intended to be. Now that we're satisfied with all that, we're gonna put the thing back together. Hopefully now you have a little better idea of what it takes to replace the door latch and lock actuator assembly for a mid-2000s GM truck.